In the memories of many, Sihanoukville was once a gentle seaside town in Cambodia, where long stretches of sand and deep blue waters set the rhythm of an unhurried life. In the afternoons, fishermen mended their nets beneath coconut palms. At night, visitors gathered at modest seafood stalls as the sound of waves blended with quiet conversation. The city was never ostentatious, yet it held a quiet charm rooted in simplicity and a sense of safety. Within a short span of time, however, that familiar landscape changed so rapidly that returning visitors scarcely recognized it. Low-rise hotels along the beachfront were gradually overshadowed by concrete high-rises. Construction cranes pierced the skyline, operating day and night. Wooden shop signs gave way to LED billboards. Plots of coastal land once used by local communities were sold at soaring prices, clearing the way for entertainment complexes, hotels, and above all, casinos rising side by side. The sudden influx of foreign capital was widely praised as a sign that Cambodia had found a new engine of growth beyond agriculture and garment manufacturing. On the surface, the narrative flowed smoothly. Investment surged, jobs multiplied, and local revenues improved. Sihanoukville was promoted as a symbol of regional economic integration, a testament to the country's ability to expand through services and real estate, not merely low-cost labor. Yet, alongside the breathtaking pace of construction, observers began noticing troubling irregularities. Many of the new complexes did not resemble traditional tourism projects. They operated in near isolation, guarded tightly, with minimal interaction with surrounding communities. Local residents rarely passed through their tall iron gates and thick concrete walls. Inside, lights remained on throughout the night, consuming unusually large amounts of electricity, water, and telecommunications capacity, far beyond what standard hotels or casinos would require. Subsequent international investigations revealed that a number of these developments were not primarily designed for tourism or entertainment. Instead, they functioned as large-scale online scam centers, where thousands of individuals were tightly controlled and compelled to carry out fraudulent schemes targeting victims across multiple countries. From fake investment platforms to romance scams to sophisticated financial fraud, the operations were organized with the efficiency of industrial production lines. What troubled the public was not merely the existence of such networks, but the fact that they were able to operate for extended periods with seemingly little obstruction. Many analysts argue that an open investment climate, combined with limited financial and labor oversight, inadvertently created a gray zone wide enough for illicit activities to take root. When economic growth was prioritized above all else, early warning signs were easily overlooked or overshadowed by positive economic indicators. As long as money continued to flow, property prices climbed, and the city glowed brightly at night, few were eager to look too closely at what lay behind the closed gates. That silence began to fracture only when cases of forced labor, human trafficking, and unlawful detention were exposed by international media. Stories of workers lured abroad with false promises, then prevented from leaving, threatened or abused for failing to meet quotas, quickly spread and drew global attention. Pressure came not only from journalists, but also from governments whose citizens had fallen victim to scam operations based in Sihanoukville. Cambodia faced a difficult dilemma. Ignoring the problem risked being labeled a hotspot for transnational crime, potentially triggering tighter financial scrutiny and trade consequences. Yet a forceful crackdown threatened a growth model that had become deeply embedded in the local economy. Many observers believe that this tension contributed to a delayed initial response. Only when the reputational costs grew too high to ignore did large-scale enforcement campaigns begin. Numerous compounds were inspected and sealed off. Suspects were arrested or investigated. Images circulated on social media showing people fleeing buildings or attempting to contact foreign embassies, vivid evidence of a reality that had long been denied. For Sihanoukville, the economic shock was immediate. As scam centers shut down, foreign workers departed en masse, causing a sharp decline in local consumption. Once busy streets fell quiet. Restaurants closed early. High-end apartments remained vacant for months. Rental prices plummeted, yet demand remained scarce. Confidence in the city's future suffered a severe blow. Many local residents who had indirectly benefited from the property boom began to feel the consequences of overdependence. Families who had taken out loans to build rental homes, convinced that foreign tenants would keep arriving indefinitely, found themselves struggling as income evaporated while debts remained. Unfinished concrete skeletons stood motionless, stark reminders of an overheated growth phase in which questions of sustainability had not been asked in time. At a deeper level, the story of Sihanoukville extends beyond local economics to broader issues of power and vested interests. The prolonged existence of large scam compounds led many to suspect systemic protection rather than isolated negligence. Some analysts suggest the situation was not merely the result of lax oversight, but of complex entanglements among capital flows, policy decisions, and administrative authority. One frequently cited issue involves investment-based citizenship and honorary title programs. In principle, these mechanisms are legitimate tools to attract capital and integrate business elites into national development. In practice, however, loopholes can be exploited. When citizenship and prestigious titles can be obtained through substantial financial contributions, the boundary between encouraging investment and legitimizing questionable funds becomes blurred. The public visibility of individuals branded as major investors behind large-scale projects inadvertently created a protective shield. For local authorities, scrutinizing or intervening against figures portrayed as contributors to development was rarely an easy choice. In such circumstances, warning signs could be delayed, minimized, or quietly dismissed. Moreover, online scam networks required a complex supporting ecosystem. Stable telecommunications infrastructure, vast electric supply, banking systems capable of processing continuous financial flows. The sustained availability of these conditions without disruption raised further questions about the oversight responsibilities of service providers and financial regulators. When the risk of international monitoring related to money laundering and human trafficking became tangible, the stakes extended far beyond Sihanoukville. Legitimate export industries, formal investment flows, and international financial relationships all stood to be affected. Under mounting pressure, a decisive crackdown was increasingly seen as the lesser long-term cost, despite the immediate economic shock. Still, many experts caution that enforcement alone addresses only the surface. Transnational criminal networks are adaptive. When one jurisdiction tightens control, operations often shift elsewhere to regions with weaker oversight. Signs have already suggested that similar activities have dispersed to other areas in the region, operating on a smaller and more flexible scale. In the long run, Cambodia's greatest challenge may be rebuilding trust. Tourism may recover, but erasing an image linked to online fraud will take time and credible signals of reform. Abandoned buildings and stalled developments are not merely economic problems. They represent psychological burdens for legitimate investors. The case of Sihanoukville has thus become a cautionary tale about the darker side of rapid development. When growth depends excessively on easy, loosely monitored capital, the costs extend beyond short-term economic contraction. National reputation and social stability can be placed at risk. The central question remains unresolved. Where is the line between attracting investment and compromising the future, and who bears responsibility when that line is crossed? Perhaps the answer lies in not a single enforcement campaign, but in building transparent governance structures where economic expansion is matched by accountability. Only then can cities like Sihanoukville truly shine again, not with the fleeting glare of speculative booms, but the steadier light of sustainable development and restored confidence. Thank you for watching this story. If you found it meaningful, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video. And now it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for staying with Societal Stories.